We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports. We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Huge show in store for you tonight as we are simulcasting and watching the Yankees game versus the Rudy Poo Candy Asses that are known as the Boston Red Sox. Yes. I am a Yankees fan. Oh, Blake is a Rudy Poo and yada, yada. You're a homer and, you're the front runner. And, guys, since I've been alive and been conscious in sports, the Yankees have been worse than when since I've been a fan. It's been rough. But we do have a good show in store for you tonight. We will talk about LSU, Kentucky. We will get to break down just how hot is Ed Orgeron's seat getting. Guys, there's some things that I'm hearing that will blow your socks away tonight. I will share some details as we're going into this week. Also, a lot of people loved Mr. Memphis Spence, who joined us not this past Tuesday, but the Tuesday before. He is a college football voter in the polls. We will have him. He was so awesome a couple weeks ago. We bring him back at 7:20. As we do on every Tuesdays and Thursdays, hashtag Ask Blake. We'll get into it. You have a question, fire them inside the Rudy Crew chat. Do that right now. And everybody, we greatly appreciate you for, if you're on YouTube. Let me say this before we get started. We will be doing a giveaway, a live giveaway tomorrow for all of the people that watch us on YouTube. We're going to start trying to transition there. You got to be subscribed. You got to get over there. So if you're watching us on Facebook or Twitter, get on over to YouTube, AYS Sports. Click the subscribe button. I'll let you know how you can win some money tomorrow, or a gift card tomorrow evening. So that'll be fun. I kept the who would you rather in there. We might get to it. And should the playoffs get expanded, we'll talk about that as well, as I think there's going to be some news maybe coming up soon about the playoff that some people need to watch out for. But before we get started, guys, as always, do me a favor by hitting the like and share. If you're on Facebook, share to some Facebook groups, share to your personal pages. We greatly appreciate that. Don't forget to like us on our Facebook page as well. Also, if you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Guys, we are going to make a big push, hopefully, as Spectrum gets off their candy asses and gets our internet back, because we are live here from the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. We're going to be trying to push a lot more content, get a lot more focus inside of AYS. So we need you on our YouTube channel as well. I want to give a good shout out to our partners over at Believe as well. But let's get to a couple of these comments inside the Rudy Crew chat. Stephen Miller, who is a Boston fan, and quite honestly, there's not a lot wrong with my friend Stephen Miller outside that he is a Boston fan. He says Rudy Poo of the week, the host. Pooh Bear says he needs the Yankees by 2. I saw the line was 1.5. I put a crisp $10 bill on the Yankees tonight on the money line. I don't like betting. When I'm betting baseball, I don't take the runs. I don't do that. I bet the money line. I know it's not winners. I just don't do it, especially in the playoff. Josh Stevens says Kiffin. DBU says 7 says let's go. Lamar Williams says pay me $250K. I'll be the LSU head coach. Hell, you pay me $50,000. I'll run out there and that son of a bitch. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. Brian Annie Pinton says let's go. So let's do this. Let's pay some bills around this thing, and then we'll talk about get into it. I think that a lot of LSU fans are gonna want to hear what I have to say about the hot seat for Ed Orgeron. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that. And then Memphis Spence right after that. None better than our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons. Guys, last week I had a blowout. Was on my way here to the Drake Williams Law Firm. Blowout, the Rudy Poo train track. I hit something, had a blowout, brand new tire, had to buy a new one. But our good friends over at GM did that, and our good friends over at betonline.ag. Nobody's better than these guys. Guys, with 63 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Varno & Son. I am a living example of how effective and great GM Varno & Sons will treat you. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. And tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. The good friends over at betonline.ag. Guys, the Yankees, Boston Red Sox is about to be here. I know I made the joke in the opening, but let's go Yankees. Let's go Yankees. You want to place the bet, you better do it now. You might be a little too late. But if you want to do it, you got to use your mobile device. Go over to betonline.ag today. Use a 50% welcome bonus. Let them know that Blake Ruffino and AYS sent you by doing the podcast and radio selection. And then that way, since you were in the state of Louisiana, they'll know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. That's betonline.ag. Betonline.ag. All right, let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Let's get this thing rolling. Bundy says it's about to be fire. I'm telling you, you might want to hit the share button for all your buddies. Nookie says the tire was sabotage. It was sabotage. It was sabotage. Stephen Miller says today may have been the worst interview on Off the Bench that I've heard in years and years. Well, let's get into it. Because Sunday night, Sunday morning, Saturday night, I took the gloves off in so much that I said a word that I've never said on 331 episodes. And the 200 episodes that we did before, we had to take the break because of medical issues. I have never said the F word in my life on this show. However, Saturday night brought me to a point of no return. I have not come out publicly and said to fire Ed Orgeron. Today, I'm not going to say fire Ed Orgeron. I think that if he wins Saturday and he still can win games, which is a possibility, I want to give him every chance imaginable. But if they do lose Saturday, it could be the end. However, there are some very crazy things that I'm hearing going into Kentucky. It's not just LSU fans and LSU boosters and LSU people inside the football ops building and or the athletic department that I'm fielding phone calls from. It's around the SEC. It's around college football. I have a beat writer, a national beat writer. I guess it's not really a beat writer, but a national writer that you all know calling me, asking me questions about things that I'm hearing, and we're both confirming the same stories that, we're both getting. I don't know if Ed is going to be able to survive this. I do not know if Ed, with a loss Saturday, will be your head coach the following week against Florida. Because if any inkling or any small number or percentage of what I'm hearing is true. Now, let me preface this too by saying, and what I probably should have said before all of that, is that in coaching searches and what I've learned, and LSU's had a shit ton of them, a lot of them, is that when it's this early and a coach isn't even fired yet, everything that you hear is either BS and something that was leaked on purpose, or some of it has some truth to it. It's my job to leak through the bullshit. It's my job to go out there and find out what is true and what is not. What I do know and what I can tell you is the people around Louisiana that are big LSU fans, that are big LSU boosters, have had enough. It's not so much from them what they tell me that's on the field, that's off the field. And no, I'm not talking about a Rudy Poo blonde. I'm talking about the excuses that come on the field. Now, today, I was called into the principal's office. Today, I was told that I needed to back down. Well, today, AYS and the Rudy crew will make a stand that if you don't win football games on the field, I will not stand down. And it's a shame that I have to come on here and tell you, like I told you face to face, that I will never stand down. You can do anything that you want to me, but I will not stand down. Not now, not ever. The love that I have for LSU goes deeper and longer than Ed Orgeron. It will go longer, God willing, and knock on wood, if God above graces me with life for a long periods of time, will be a LSU fan longer than you will be the head coach, and people are inside of that building. AYS will continue to prosper as you are getting out that building. See, the one thing that this has brought out, and what I should tell, and what everybody should know, and what we should be talking about, is what LSU is going to do. And we're, in about 2 minutes, we'll get to that. What is LSU going to do on the field? But the real personalities are coming out at LSU. And for everybody that listens to AYS, everybody that listens to our show, understand this. The realness, the let's go Yankees. Just joking. Just saw something. ADHD. But the authenticity that you will get on this show will never waver. There are things that is told to me and that is confirmed to me that never touch the surface of this camera, of this computer I've had for a long time, that I probably should buy a new one. The Rudy Poo laptop. But if you want to make idle threats, if LSU wants to make idle threats, if LSU wants to suppress the media, you're not going to suppress shit here, Big Daddy. When you should be gaining friends and friendships, you are tearing them down. Let's get to LSU on the field, and I'll get to some comments before we get to our good friend Memphis Spence. I mentioned this last night, and I'll continue to mention it. LSU's biggest weakness on the team is Kentucky's biggest strength. So what do I mean by that? The front seven for Kentucky is brutal. Their nose guard is a brutal cat, puns intended. They're going to get after the quarterback. They're going to really stuff the run. But, I mean, it's not like LSU runs the ball anyway. And then LSU makes excuses about how the O-line is so bad that we can't run the football. Well, guys, I'm going to tell you something. You better go rewatch that game on Saturday. Because the way that I see it, and I know that the O-line has been bad from majority of the time. But the way that I see it is when you only have 10 rushes between two running backs and you have 9 guys in coverage for Auburn, how in the Rudy Poo hell do you know? How in the hell do you know? And you best pray to sweet baby Jesus above, sweet 7-pound, 8-pound baby Jesus up above. Jesus was a man. I know he had a beard. But if you put Steve Ensminger in that booth, the former OC who's now an analyst, you better start kicking ass. Because if you show your hand and tell everybody that the OC that you hired is not that good, you better pray you put up 40-plus points against a very capable defense. Now, I'll ask Memphis where he has Kentucky ranked. Where did they crack the top 16? What does he see in Kentucky? What does he see around college football? Because honestly, and I've never come out on this show and said, I think LSU is going to lose. Guys, I think you could lose Saturday. And I think it, quite honestly, if you're not careful, and if LSU's not careful, they're going to get their asses beat. And they're going to get beat up all up and down the field. It's like when you're a kid. This is the feeling that I have. It's like when you're a kid and you know that you did something bad. Your daddy and your mama told you not to bring that red Kool-Aid into the room with the carpet, right? Like, you shouldn't have done it. They told you that you was going to spill the damn Kool-Aid on their new carpet. And it ain't no red carpet. It ain't no green carpet where you can cover it up. It's that brand new white carpet. It's Frank Lucas and Denzel Washington would say, it's that alpaca. You block that shit. And then you spill the Kool-Aid, and then daddy comes home and he whips out the belt. And you know you about to get that ass whooping. That's the feeling I got. You am I mad? Nah. Am I embarrassed? A little. Am I disappointed? Yes. Yeah, I am. Let's get a couple comments before we get out of here. Or before we get out of here. Before we get to Memphis. Jacob Cole says Memphis Spence for head coach. Look, if he'll take it, we'll ask him. We'll ask him. I mean, I don't know if Memphis will take $8 million a year. Let's ask him. Let's ask him. Everybody talking about the Denzel thing. It's alpaca. You block that shit. Pooh Bear says, Blake, can you ask Memphis why Clemson is still ranked? I'll ask him. Yep, we sure will. Michael Ray says, did Facebook broadcast you go down? I don't know that. Did it? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it did. No, it's still up. We got 190 or 130 something people in there. No, it's up. All right, two more, and then we're going to bring up Memphis. Colin says, hashtag ask Blake, hashtag ask anyone but Urban. Guys, I mean, you're going to look. If the theme of this season is going to be take off the gloves, hashtag Rocky Balboa. If it's going to be that, with Title IX and the lawsuits, the Les Miles paying girls because he was trying to smooch up on them, you can't hire Urban Meyer after what happened Saturday. You can't. I mean, there's more videos being released that I'm not even going to get into that, but I don't even know that's not even game at this point. Like, dog, what are you doing? Like, I mean, you better go to Linda's Toy Box or something. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Dominic says, I love Coach O and I love Les, but LSU maintaining a powerhouse credibility is above all. We have never been this bad since I've been a fan, almost 15 years. What has happened and what has happened to us? Go Tigers. Yeah, incompetence. Not only incompetence, but gross incompetence. Laziness, and quite honestly, settling. Last thing, and we're getting to Memphis. I don't mean this in a wrong way, okay? And this is not me boasting, because, guys, you know that I don't come out here boasting. But I'm going to give an example from my life. That way nobody else can say, well, Blake used another, somebody else's analogy or whatever. Guys, we don't have internet at our house. I'm using a hotspot that I'm paying $150 a month for that, quite honestly, doesn't work worth a shit. I drive 15 minutes, 20 minutes out of my way to come here. I go home after work as we're continuously building AYS. I see my son for 30 minutes. If I'm lucky, I grab something, a bite to eat before I come here, and then we do the show. Then I break down at the end. I say all that to say, when you really want something, when something is desirable for you and you have a vision, you attack that vision. You don't get lazy. Guys, it could have been easy that I said for the last month, guys, don't have internet. Oh, well. It's Spectrum's Rudy Poo fault. Hell no. Screw that. Because I know what I want for this. I want to take this son of a bitch to the top. And we coming. And we ain't backing down. Ed Orgeron reference. All right, let's do this. Let's get to a very quick break, and then we're going to bring in Memphis Spence into the show. Guys, was absolutely fantastic a couple of weeks ago. He's going to be fantastic again. I already know it. Guys, and we've mentioned this. We're at the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com, 985-386-7600, 985-386-7600, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Guys, titles, real estate, successions, family court. You see all the books behind me. Guys, they're literally beating everybody in court. LSU's going through Title IX. I'm asking Ryan and Ernie, what's going to be done? They know everything because they've seen everything, and they've been there. 2 LSU grads that love LSU and also are big partners of AYS. It's DrakeWilliamsLawFirm.com, DrakeWilliamsLawFirm.com. And my good friend, Mr. Richie Roche over at Roche's Lawn and Landscape, 225-937-7220. 225-937-7220. Guys, you want the best-looking yard in your neighborhood? They're going to do it. And it's that time of year where you're going to be getting some landscaping. The fall is coming right around. You're going to have a lot of people over for holidays and things like that. You got to call Richie Roche at Roche's Lawn and Landscape. 225-937-7220. Tell him Blake sent you on by. All right, we got my good friend, Mr. Memphis Spence, joining us. Memphis, you're fantastic. Look, you were so good. The people made me bring you back on during the season. And we were going to do it no matter what because you were fantastic. My God, right. What's happening?
Not much, man. What you up to, bro? I mean, other than looking for another coach.
What am I doing? Getting threatened by the staff. But other than that, we're all good. But look, I got to ask you this. Yeah. We're talking LSU, and we're obviously an LSU SEC Central podcast. Right. And LSU does have Kentucky this week. Right. Kentucky comes off a great game against Florida. I mean, they haven't beat Florida and Kroger in a long time in Lexington. What do you see from them? What do you see? What challenges does LSU have going into Lexington this upcoming Saturday?
LSU hasn't figured out how to run the football yet. And I'm not exactly sure why that is. The only thing that comes to mind is that your running back coach, I believe, is Kevin Falk, and his daughter died. Maybe he's still distracted. That's the only thing I can think of. The guys, I don't know if he's working with those guys. I have no idea what's going on at LSU. I started looking up some stats on LSU, trying to figure out where did the running game go. I mean, the NFL has like 6-7 LSU running backs. Where did the running game go at LSU? And I started looking,
in 2019, honestly.
Right. I started looking, and I was like, there are 130 FBS schools.
There are 128,
128, man.
I know.
What? Do we need to get out there? Do I need to throw some blocks for you, Blake? I mean, we could,
look for LSU. I'll clean somebody's clock, Memphis. I mean, I'm just letting you know. But look, I think that there's two things. There's two things can be true at the same time, and this as well as I do, especially watching college football. A lot of people have associated LSU's O-line with being bad, but Memphis, for the life of me, I mean, look, they have been bad at times. Okay, but this past Saturday, they had 50 dropbacks and 3 sacks. So at what point do you sit back and say, well, you know what? They dropped back 50 times and only 3 sacks, and then you have a freshman that's almost rushing for 5 yards per carry. I really believe that schematically they're just not good. Coaching staff is just not good. They don't know what they're doing offensively.
It's not the players, it's the coaching. I actually went through this in this game. LSU's offensive line is more highly ranked than every other player on Kentucky's D-line.
Correct.
Now think about that. I was sitting there, I was like, is it talent? No, it's not talent. 4-star, 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 5-star. There's a guy, Ed Ingram. He's on my Outland watch list. And I'm sitting here just like, man, what? If they can't run the football, how am I supposed to grade them out for that? And I'm not sure why LSU can't run the football, but you're going to have to run the football against Kentucky. There's no you won't win this game. Kentucky's front seven is ridiculous.
So what are you seeing out of them? What are you seeing out of Kentucky? I know you watched that game against Florida. So what is the biggest thing? Like, I think that Memphis, their front seven and their offensive line is going – I think their O-line, as an example, is the second best in the SEC. I think they're better than Alabama. So, I mean, that's
They're,
the game. That's their game plan, right?
yeah, they're going to control the clock. That's what they're going to do. Because to be honest with you, even though they're switching between this air raid and this pro style, and they really don't. Will Levis didn't really look that good against Florida. Going into LSU, I think it's going to be more of the same. They're going to control the clock. They're going to look for turnovers. Right. If you don't turn the ball over, you have a chance of winning this game. But you're going to have to control the clock. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. You know, you can't drop back 50 times against this defense. You're not going to get it down. Florida found out real quick that there are no deep passes against Kentucky. None.
Right.
They're getting home in about 3.5 seconds. You short passes, they keep everything in front of them. And that blitz that they have going on, it's they get home. They will get home. If not, they'll rush the quarterback to the point where he'll be looking to the sideline a lot. He'll call out of plays. Seriously, they're well coached too. But what needs to happen here is that LSU needs to run the football. There's not gonna. This isn't. And I'm not trying to make excuses up to this point, but this is a team that if you don't run the football effectively on, you're going to get buried quickly. Mm-hmm. They will. What they did to Florida was so interesting because they didn't beat Florida with the pass. They beat Florida with defense, and they beat Florida with ball control. And that's it.
Right.
That's what the game was. The game was basically, hey, let's make sure that this, we know what this QB can do. Keep him in front of us. Don't let him throw a deep pass. And then,
Memphis, tell me, to allude to that, did you feel like that Kentucky just beat them at their own game? Because we saw Florida really physically dominate Alabama at times. Do you think that they just out Florida'd Florida? They out Dan Mullen. I mean, is it as simple as that? They were just more physical up front?
They are a very physical team up front. They're very no-nonsense. See, they take after their coach.
Right.
But that's not the way they won that game was simply discipline. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a lot of defensive discipline, not letting people get behind them. Florida's been winning games. When Florida played Alabama, they got over the top a lot. Mm-hmm. They didn't get over the top. Kentucky would not allow them to do that.
Nope.
They kept everything in front of them. They kept all the run. Or they're very gap sound with that defensive line. I mean,
very correct.
So if you're not going to be able to run and you're going to have to run off tackle too. Don't come up the middle. Don't come up the middle against Kentucky, please. Run off tackle. Try to use the speed that LSU has to get to the outside, create some space, and try and tire them out before the fourth. Because it's almost going to be like a downhill sled in terms of this rushing game. If you're not somewhere around 50, 60 yards rushing by halftime, I don't know. You still have a chance, though, if you don't turn the ball over, because they got 2 turnovers in that game, and that's really what won them the game. The pick six and the fumble. So, and they probably have one of Georgia's defense is elite. Let's get that out of the way. They're on another level. After Georgia, Kentucky's defense is really, really good this year. Mm-hmm. And they're really good because they're not necessarily the fastest defense. Nobody in the secondary is faster than LSU's secondary. Nobody. But they are coached very well. They know how to get in and out of those breaks. They keep everybody in front of them. They're coached very well. So if they make a mistake defensively, take advantage of that if you can. Otherwise, you're going to have to effectively run the football. And I haven't seen LSU do that. So I don't know about this game. this game might it might get ugly quick.
That's what I was saying. And look, we were talking about Kentucky being in the beginning of the season, myself included, was talking about Kentucky being a trap game for LSU. But I kind of wonder if that's kind of reversed itself in a sense where, look, Kentucky's coming off a big win against Florida. LSU, everybody's saying LSU stinks. I don't really, Spence, know what to make of all of this, other than it's either going to be a big time beatdown or it's going to be really close. Like I don't see Kentucky winning by just 10. I can see them beating LSU and running them out of the stadium, or it being really close. But we'll have to see. I do want to get to more of this because
Kentucky Kentucky doesn't really. They're not smashing anybody. They're beating people close, and they're beating people with defense. They're playing some of the best situational football that you can play. But that's what Mark Stoops does. I mean, he knows he can't out-athlete you. He's going to out-coach you. He'll out-situational football you. He knows when to call timeouts. He knows all the things that are necessary to win a football game.
And even to put this, Darren Jackson Jr. on Facebook says they're coached very well, which is aggravating for LSU fans because that's what's not going on right now.
Yeah.
And look, I don't know what to make of it. I think, and we'll have that conversation when the time officially comes, because I'm not going to put you in that spot if Orgeron leaves and what does it mean for LSU moving forward. But I
do have somebody wanted me to look up a good coach for you. So when you come to that question, I think I have some.
Hit it.
So your AD is Scott Woodward still, correct?
Correct. I know where you're going.
He used to coach a young man. Well, he's about 10 years older than me, but a young man up in Washington that retired and is available. His last coaching contract was $4.8 million. Somebody wanted to give me $8 million. Find Chris Peterson and just give him $8 million. just somebody roll up on him, pop the trunk, throw $8 million in his garage, and give him a plane ticket and see if he comes. Because he's not doing anything right now. We know what he did at Boise State. We know what he did at Washington. Washington, since he's left, it's a little, But whatever
he recruited well there too, Spence. I mean, Buda Baker, Vita Vea, John Ross. I mean, he recruited. He recruited well. And if he comes to Louisiana, I'm not gonna lie. I did watch that 2016 Alabama-Washington game today.
Yeah.
The highlights.
Yeah.
Dude, Alabama just had more athletes than Washington, but God dog was Chris Peterson dialing it up, dude. I mean, it was impressive.
When you see a guy like that able to recruit to Idaho and Washington, think about what he can do at LSU.
I mean, man.
He would have like this. He would walk in and like, man, I'm getting paid twice as what I used to pay, and I can get 5-star athletes now. And, I think Chris Peterson is the guy. And here's something behind the scenes. One of the reasons why he left was because his buddy who hired him there left for LSU. He didn't get along with the new AD. I haven't seen this. This makes so much sense to me right now. I'm just like, man, Scott Woodward has to get on the phone. I mean, he has a cell phone. Just call the man up, throw him $8 million, and give him a plane ticket and see if he comes to LSU. Because that would be a coaching hire that not only would I support, I think your boosters would get behind that so quick. I think it's a slam dunk. The AD already knows him. He knows what to expect from him. He runs a clean program. That's the coach that you need to go get, because nobody has him right now. Now, if you can't get him, I'm going to have to do some research on who. But he's available. And I don't know what he's doing. He's been, messing around with his kids through COVID. Maybe he's been sitting on the couch trying to figure out, the meaning of life. Give him a call. And LSU might be the place that he comes because his buddy's already there.
Yeah,
The
and
guy
I think the
hired to
only
be
thing,
already.
and you kind of hit on this, would be culture, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
what is like Louisiana culture? But like Nick Saban didn't have Louisiana culture. Okay, he
no,
was never a guy that coached in the South. So
no.
if he is the guy, Spence, I won't hate it because I think that he is a good. And look, he talked about that with Bucky Brooks. Look, I'm doing a Chris Peterson deep dive, and he went on Bucky Brooks's
Yeah,
podcast. And look, when this kind of stuff happens, and I know you do the same, is I listen to, like, I really start focusing in on coaches and potential candidates, and I really like what I hear. But look, I don't disagree. You got to make that phone call. He's a very, very good coach. But I do
make
want to get
that.
to this. Look, Spence, I know that you do your voting. You got your top 16, but
Mhm.
man, and I'm being honest when I ask you this. I mean, it's Alabama and Georgia, and then it's everybody else, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so at what point do you kind of so? And here's my question, and I was going to talk about the playoff later on, expanding the playoff. Spence, to me, you saw the number 16 team face the number 1 team, Ole Miss, which 16 around 16 gets demolished by Alabama. Why in the Rudy Poo hell are we expanding this thing?
I don't,
Am I crazy here?
no, no, you're not. And I'm glad that somebody else understands this. We don't want any more bad football. That's the
No.
we don't want like the writers, the broadcasters. We don't want bad football. We don't want to have to watch these games. See, the fans, you all have the opportunity to turn off a game. We have to watch them
I
because we have
know.
to know what's going on.
Exactly.
We have to. I don't like watching bad football. That's why I'm all for teams playing real matchups at the beginning of the season. I would love to see more, LSU going to Ohio State or Clemson going to USC. I want to see more of that. I don't want to see bad football. And I think the last time I was on your show, I told you that Ole Miss, that offense, was covering up, a multitude of sins on defense.
You
Now you see
did.
what I'm saying?
I was wrong. I'll admit. And look, I even had and this
Yeah.
is why we bring you on. I was the guy that took the bait. You were right. Look, I'll say it. I am not the guy that comes on the radio or podcast and says, "Oh, well, Memphis, we can't talk about." Look, if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
I'll admit it.
Likewise. So I mean, but that's who Ole Miss is, and I knew their defense. It's bad. You know something though? A lot of people are making bad decisions with their defensive play calling. Everything is built to
I
stop
agree.
spread offense. Everything now. I mean, you see, 5, 6, definitely 10 years ago, you never used to see teams in like 3-2-6, 3-3-5, unless it was an obvious passing situation, or like Memphis, we don't have a secondary. Our secondary is trash, so that's why we're in that type of a zone. But everybody's in this zone now to try and stop spread offenses, and running the football is easy. So teams that are actually like Michigan State, why is Michigan State ranked? Michigan State is running the football. That's why they're ranked.
And look,
Like, hey,
I am a Mel Tucker apologist. Spence, I am a Mel Tucker Look, people think I'm a Michigan State fan, but like even the Miami game. Okay, look, I saw Alabama play them, and then I saw Michigan State, and I'm like, bro, we know that there's a difference. We've seen that we can see the difference in those two, in the two games. But man, did they punt? Look, I am a Mel Tucker apologist, and that's my point on this, Spence. Like, we're talking about explaining the playoffs. Like, we're talking about explaining that. But I mean, at what point are we? Look, this would be the ultimate thing. And Spence, I'm going to start trying to convince you of this. Please let Cincinnati get in the top 4, so Georgia beats that ass down, and so we can be done with all of this. So I'm going to make a campaign. Let's go Cincinnati, so Georgia can beat that ass down. Right? I mean, like, that's what I want.
Listen. Wasn't it Michigan State that won the Big Ten years ago, got in, beat Michigan on that crazy kick, got into the college football playoff and didn't score a point. It was 31-0 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, this happens all the time because there's really only two teams, Georgia and Alabama.
And it's like that every year.
Ohio State's out to lunch. They're trying to do stuff, but they're out to lunch. You know, they're not competing this year. Oregon decided to just, throw up on Stanford. So, I mean, they're not – there's only two teams. As a matter of fact, I think we should just cut to the chase. In the name of player safety, let's just have Alabama and Georgia right now. We don't need to see any more. Penn State's good. Iowa's good, but they're not Georgia good. Neither one of those defenses is Georgia good. And Georgia's only given up, 23 points this year? Alabama gave up 28 to Florida. Georgia only gave up 23 points.
Yeah.
That defense is elite.
That in and of itself, look, let's just get there when we get there to the extent, because I know how fans are in this chat. So I'm going to leave that one alone. Oh, Kirby stinks. We'll see. I do got to get one more question out for you, though, Spence, before you roll. And I don't really know how to ask this, and it's not anything bad, but it's just like, I want more football. Don't get me wrong, and we talked about good and bad football, but like at what point do we kind of sit back and ask the question of, because look, I look at the NFL and I see Roger Goodell and I see a commissioner. Okay.
Right.
I see that the college football playoff is something external and out of the NCAA.
Right.
Do you think, because there's so much back and forth, that there should be somebody on top, like a commissioner, instead of like the NCAA Mark Emmert? Because when I see so many different arguments and things going on, and everybody says, oh, that would be horrible. You can't do it. And then I sit back and ask myself, well, how in the hell is Roger Goodell doing it? Look, he's got to deal with billionaires where, quite honestly, if you think billionaires can't find a way to get him out of there, and they can't, I mean, look, I want what's best for college football, and I think there's too many heads clashing at this point, and I think that it's hurting at this current moment. Do you ever think that there's a day that we sit up and we have like a commissioner type of guy in college football, or do you think that there's just too much involved and nobody would ever allow that?
From my perspective, I don't think people want it. Also, right. I don't think Mark Emmert wants somebody that's presiding over college football, nor do I think there are certain powers that be, so to speak, in this college football game, and everybody has like their own stake in it. And nobody wants to be told what to do. The Rose Bowl doesn't even want to be told when to play their game.
I know, which is so dumb.
We're playing it now. If you don't like it, we're not negotiating. So everybody kind of wants to do this their own way, which is why we are where we are. Personally, I think we would have better football if there was a commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
If Mark Emmert said, okay, everybody, you're doing 8 conference games, and then we're going to schedule. There's going to be an actual schedule of your first 4 games. Let's see, of the Power 5 conferences, let's have a round robin. Let's, the number 1 teams last year, they play each other, just like in the NFL. Number 2 teams, they play each other. Then we start getting matchups that are meaningful. I mean, instead of
Hey, to open up the NFL season, you got Green Bay and New Orleans and Jacksonville, and and Jameis does what he does. I mean, you want to see the best on best, right?
That's what I want. I want good football. Mm-hmm. I always, whatever, and that's why I don't want an expanded playoff. I mean, I know people are like, well, how's Memphis going to get in? Well, if Memphis is ever that good, if they're one of the top 4 teams, put them in there. Like you said about Cincinnati, watch what happens when Cincinnati gets in as a 4. They're going to get crushed.
You better call what was that character that Robert Downey Jr. played? It was the book, The Detective. Um, I forget what you you better call that Sherlock Holmes. You better call Sherlock Holmes because there's going to be multiple murders, and you're not going to know who to recognize the body. That's for damn sure.
Georgia's defense is 2 or 3 notches better than it was. I know what we saw last year with Cincinnati, 21-24 with Georgia. It was at the Fiesta Bowl or the Peach Bowl or something. But Georgia's better than that team. I don't know how they got better. They sent a lot of people to the NFL, just like LSU and Alabama, but they actually got better. Maybe it was addition by subtraction, but they got better. And somehow there's really only 2 teams that I can see in this competition. And I'm on my poll, I have Georgia as the best. I think they're head and shoulders above Alabama.
That's what I like to hear.
I think they're head and shoulders above Alabama at this point in the season. Now, it's early. This is, the beginning of October. We may see injuries. We may see things leading up to, when we get to December, there may be a change in opinion by me just because of injuries and where the progression of Alabama is. It's a long season. But right now, Georgia's the best team in the nation. Clemson also should not be ranked. I don't know who asked that question.
Yeah,
they should be ranked. They're definitely not in my top 16. The FWAA only does 16. They do a Super 16. Right. The AP does 25, but I wouldn't. They weren't even on my list.
You don't need a 25, Spence. Let's just call it what it is, right? Like you don't need a top 20, 16 through 25 is like a. Oh yeah, look at me. It's a recruiting thing. Come on, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
All right, Spence, we greatly appreciate you coming in, my brother. It's been fantastic as always. Tell everybody where they can catch all your stuff and everything that you're doing.
Sports Radio America. Actually, somebody just wrote a nice article about us. We've been around. This is our 10th year anniversary, and we've been working with college grads to kind of get them prepared for the actual broadcast industry for about 10 years now. We have a lot of guys out there. We've gotten a lot of guys to ESPN and CBS and whatnot. I kind of have to handpick the folks that come in, but if you work with us, there's a really good chance that you get to where you need to go. But I'm on if you want to listen to me. A lot of smart boosters actually listen to my show, noon to 2 Eastern, Mondays and Thursdays on the Sports Radio America network. Grab the TuneIn app. You can listen to me there.
I appreciate my brother, and we'll have you back on not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after. It was good talking to you. You have a good night, my friend.
No doubt. Take care.
That is Memphis Spence, guys. He's always fantastic when he comes on. Always fantastic. Jeff in the Borough has made an appearance inside of the chat. The man with the biggest Kentucky fan you'll probably ever meet with the most raspiest voice. Sources confirmed that he also likes wearing granny panties. Jeff in the Burrows coming inside of the AYS chat, talking trash to LSU fans while wearing high heels and granny panties. All right. So we did kind of talk about the playoff, and we talked about it with Memphis Spence there. Look, I guys, for the life of me, I do not want to see an expanded playoff. When you got Cincinnati that's going to go and play Georgia more than likely, and everybody's going to say what happened last year. Guys, this isn't last year. LSU beat Florida last year. Teams are different. Coaching staffs are different. That Marcus Freeman's not even in Cincinnati anymore. So you can't go based off what you saw last season. Pooh Bear says, Blake, you forgot about Clemson. We just talked about that there at the end. He talked about how Clemson's not in his top 16, nor should they be. And I don't disagree. Stephen Miller says, JIB, let them saggy things hang out with his record 5-0. Yeah, he does. And sources confirmed to me that Boston is cheating, as they always do. The game's not over yet, but Boston, as they always do, they cheat. What is Jeff in the Borough saying now? He says, you wear that ugly beard. What is the difference? Because it's on my face and I grow it, and you're wearing high heels and granny panties, Jeff. All right. I hope that you guys caught the beginning of the show, but Garrett Cole is not dealing right now He's looking like trash in Rudy Poo. All right, let me say this before we end the show tonight. I will be on tigerbait.com at I think 8:05 or whatever it is with Preston Guy. He asked me to come on, so I will be there during the game as well. So go over to LSU Tigers on Tiger Bait on YouTube, and I will be on there with Preston about 8:05, 8:10, something like that. But until then, guys, we will see y'all soon. Have a big show in store for tomorrow night. Josh Pate from 247 is going to be our guest. Because look, Father Abear said he wanted it, and we're doing it, and Josh is a good guy. So we'll see y'all again tomorrow. You guys have a good night. Peace out.